Well, the man said it himself. Go ahead and adjust. Good luck.
You are Locked On Pirates, your daily Pittsburgh Pirates podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
And it is your team, your Pittsburgh Pirates, every single day here on the Locked On Podcast Network. My name is Ethan Smith, your host of the Locked On Pirates podcast. And folks, we are watching brilliance right now when it pertains to Paul Skenes. Before all that, though, folks, please follow on Twitter at MVP_Ethan or at Locked On Pirates for all of your news, analysis, opinions, and reactions to everything going on in the world of the Pittsburgh Pirates. And today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. If you want to bet some overs on Paul Skenes' strikeout numbers, folks, I would probably do that over at FanDuel.com/LockedOn, where you can even make a no-sweat first bet on Paul Skenes over on strikeouts. Paul Skenes, of course, making his second start of his career today on Friday in Wrigley Field. And folks, I was left speechless. I was laughing at just how good he was in this game and how good he was looking. Everything that he was doing against that Chicago Cubs offense, just magical. I mean, things we have quite literally never seen before from a Pittsburgh Pirates pitcher. It was mentioned quite a bit that Paul Skenes did become the first Pirates pitcher ever to have 11 strikeouts or more against the Chicago Cubs in the over 1,000 games that the Pittsburgh Pirates and the Chicago Cubs have played in their long storied rivalry. The final line, of course, for Skenes in this one, 6 innings pitched, 0 hits. 0 hits for Paul Skenes, 0 earned runs, 1 walk, 11 strikeouts, 100 pitches on the day. Obviously finished the day with that 100-mile-per-hour strikeout, 67 strikes, 22 swings and misses. Folks, we could just go on and on and on right now about all of the history that Paul Skenes just made today. He is the third pitcher in Pirates history to strike out the first 5 batters that he faced. He had 6 straight consecutive strikeouts to begin the game, 11 whiffs, obviously got to 7 before, the Cubs finally put a ball in play 38 minutes into the start of the game. He obviously continued to just do a bunch of other things. No Pirates pitcher in the last 50 years has struck out 6 batters in a row that they faced. The last time that happened was 1974. He also broke the record for the most 100-mile-per-hour pitches at Wrigley Field by the 3rd inning. Hunter Green was the previous owner of that record with 9. He did that by the 3rd inning. And a ball did not leave the infield in this start for Paul Skenes, folks, until the 5th inning on a Christopher Morel fly out to Brian Reynolds. I mean, he didn't even give up a base runner until the 5th inning. And let's be honest, if it wasn't for a terrible call from the umpire, he doesn't give that one up either. So he had a no-hitter through 6 innings. Ron Heichel is here. It says the rotation looks good. The offense has abandoned the statue approach. Penn makes me wary, but hey, the talent this team has is finally showing. And I agree 100%. You look at what is happening right now, and Jim Stam over at the Pirates Fan Forum said this on Twitter during the game, that this is a time where you want to see the Pirates invest in this team. This is a time that you want to see the Pirates kind of push all the chips in as an example, because you have a guy in Jared Jones right now who looked very good on Thursday evening. You have a guy in Paul Skenes that is generational and is breaking records just like Jared Jones was. And these guys are healthy. These guys are in your rotation right now, 100% healthy, able to give you 100 pitches if they need to, much like Paul Skenes did today. This is the time now for the Pirates to push all the chips in, build around what they have right now while these guys are healthy. We know that certain things could come down the line. We know that these things could happen. But for Paul Skenes, folks, it leaves you speechless when you watch him pitch. I mean, it got to the point at Wrigley Field during this game today that the crowd was chanting and cheering for a ball that was put in play by Cody Bellinger. And to mention something that I mentioned earlier, he did not allow a base runner until the 5th inning and did not allow a baseball to leave the infield until the 5th inning. And he pitched a no-hitter through 6 innings. Obviously, Carmen Mlodzinski, of course, gives up the no-hitter in the, I believe it was the 7th inning. And Cosmic Grind says you got to get this man run support, and they have. Pirates now in 2 starts from Paul Skenes have put up 19 runs. 19 runs for Paul Skenes that he's gotten as far as run support is concerned. Obviously, you continue to look at all the accolades that Paul Skenes hit in this one, his first double-digit strikeout game of his career. And for a lot of people that wanted to mention the ERA from his first start, obviously, Paul Skenes is going to be the center of a lot of trolling, a lot of other fan bases trying to find any weakness that they can find in Paul Skenes. Well, folks, his ERA is now a 2.7 and is better than Jared Jones through his first 2 starts. And Paul Skenes' K per 9 through his first 2 starts, folks, is a 16.39. He has a 16.39 strikeouts per 9 right now through his first 2 games. Obviously, next week, we expect that we'll see Paul Skenes sometime in the homestand, obviously with the homestand coming up against the San Francisco Giants and the Atlanta Braves, that will force Paul Skenes to finally make a start against a team not named the Chicago Cubs. What I found, too, though, that was very impressive that we saw from Skenes today is you did see those moments where he did get into a little bit of trouble, obviously having some 2-0 counts, 2-1 counts, some favorable hitters counts that he was getting himself into, was able to manage that very well, was able to use the secondary pitches to keep the Cubs kind of off balance. You started to see as that game continued that they were selling out for the fastball. It was something that you could visibly see in the way that the Cubs hitters were swinging the bat, is that they were physically looking for the fastball and just trying to tag that pitch alone. And they couldn't. I mean, they could foul it off about 20-something times, but then he would go right to the slider, right to the splinker, even featured a little bit of that curveball today. And that got him out of a lot of those jams that he was in. Now, do you expect Paul Skenes to do this in every single start? No. We already saw that in his first start, that he wasn't able to really hit this magnitude. But anytime that you go 6 hitless innings, especially against a divisional opponent in their building, that is important. That is impressive. And again, the records are just there that you saw from Paul Skenes today. I mean, when you're breaking a record at Wrigley Field, as I mentioned earlier, he broke the record for the most 100-mile-per-hour pitches at Wrigley Field by the 3rd inning of the game. Folks, he did that in 3 innings. Hunter Greene, in the entirety of one of his starts at Chicago, the previous record of 9, did that over the course of an entire start. Paul Skenes did that in 3 innings. And I mean, he was just making him look silly. It was getting to the point again where all I could sit there was do this and laugh. That's all I could do. I couldn't fathom what I was watching, because the kid, we heard all through his draft process that the fastball needed more shape and he might need some time to figure it out, but albeit he was generational and was going to be up here quick. Well, folks, the fastball shape hasn't had any issue. We have seen 0 issues with the fastball shape from Paul Skenes so far. And honestly, when the fastball hasn't been on and his command on it is a little bit off, he's been able to use those secondary pitches to his advantage to really keep hitters off balance. And we've seen that time and time again through 2 starts. That's what we've seen. Cosmic Grind says his fastball is one of the best things I've seen in a long time. It's one of the best things I've seen ever, I think. That's the magnitude of how good that pitch is for him. It is a very, very big plus pitch for him, and a pitch that is only going to be a plus pitch for him for a while. Now, this is a question that a lot of people are going to ask. Cosmic Grind asking, do we worry about his arm throwing that hard? You obviously do. It's a worry that you have with Jared Jones. It's a worry that the Reds have had with Hunter Greene. It's even a worry for a guy like Mason Miller, who has looked like one of the best relievers in all of baseball for the Oakland Athletics. It's something you're going to worry about. It is something that is going to be in the back of the minds of the Pittsburgh Pirates, of Paul Skenes, of really everybody in Major League Baseball that just truthfully enjoys watching this kid play. Now, that goes back to the point that I made before about Skenes, where you really have to break it down to a science and say, you have Paul Skenes, who is healthy right now. He is at his best right now. He is in the healthiest years he's going to be in, more than likely at this young age of 21. You look at Jared Jones, who you have breaking numerous Pirates records and smack dab in the middle of the Rookie of the Year conversation, which, by the way, the Pirates can help him out in the Rookie of the Year conversation by beating up on Shoto Imanaga tomorrow, but we'll see how that goes for the Pirates. We'll get into that a little bit later. And then you have Mitch Keller, who you extended, and you're created now a kind of three-headed monster. You're going to have the likes of Quinn Priester eventually come back and contribute. And right now you have Bailey Falter and Martin Perez, who have been contributors to that rotation that have done very good things. But now is the time to build around this kind of thing, because it's a special thing for the Pittsburgh Pirates. That's really the word that it boils down to. It's special. And we heard Paul Skenes before the game started today, the quote that he said to Hannah Mears, go ahead and adjust. Good luck. And really, he proved it. He stood behind the words that he said. And really, he's just a calm, collected guy. He's very well-mannered. He's going to always be like this. He's going to have kind of a military-esque style to himself. He's going to just go out there, arrive, shove, and leave. And that's what we saw. Now, obviously, there are questions about, okay, what can he do against a team not named the Chicago Cubs? We'll answer that question sometime next week. And just how good could he be? And I really enjoy it. I mean, it's just something that for a lot of people in Pittsburgh, I do think it's hard to fathom to just watch something like this and enjoy it. And I think that that's what we need to do. Watch what is happening in front of our eyes, break it down, and enjoy it. Because that is what Paul Skenes is giving us right now. He is giving us something to enjoy. And Zachary Zimmerman, dude, you are right where I am. Imagine a 3-pitch rotation in any playoff series of Paul Skenes, Jared Jones, and Mitch Keller. Just need to find a way to get there. And again, that goes back to the point I continue to keep making. They can get there. They can get there with this group. Add to it a little bit. Find the places where the weaknesses are. We know where the weaknesses are. Make them positives. Go out of the organization, use some of this farm system that you have, and create a team that can make a playoff push, because they have the rotation to do it. They have the pieces pitching-wise to do it. We've even seen the bullpen as of late kind of get out of that funk that they were in. I know Ryder Ryan had a tough day today. Hunter Stratton looked great. And that's what you're starting to see now, is this team seems to finally be getting out of that funk. And Paul Skenes is helping that. Paul Skenes is giving this team energy. It's giving this team confidence. And you're getting that from young guys. What has been the thing that I've said on this show now for the 4 years I've been doing it? You would rather see the top guys in your system and the top young guys perform. That's what we're seeing right now. And Paul Skenes and Jared Jones are a large part and reason why the Pirates won the last 2 days, because they looked absolutely dominant in how they pitched. And that's just what we've seen. Enough about Paul Skenes for now. We'll still bring him up and answer some other questions here on this live edition of Locked On Pirates. But before we do so, getting into the rest of the game and the offense exploding in the way they did, you could see that there's a blank there because I didn't know how many runs they were going to score before I made that graphic. But folks, the Pirates need some supplies to go on this playoff run that we hope that they can go on. So check out Supply House. Today's edition of Locked On Pirates is brought to you by Supply House. Shop Supply House for all of your plumbing, HVAC, and electrical product needs at supplyhouse.com. Get supplies from the site that was made for the skilled trade, supplyhouse.com. Supply House is the reliable way to order plumbing, HVAC, and electrical products online, and their easy-to-use website is packed with helpful resources and the latest product info to help you get the job done right. You could shop a complete inventory of over 200,000 parts from over 400 top brands and get your order delivered right to your door with fast shipping from coast to coast. And if you need help with an order, you can get expert support and industry-leading service from the friendliest folks in the business and talk to a real person every single time. So again, don't forget to go save money and time when you order online at supplyhouse.com. Order plumbing, HVAC, and electrical supplies from supplyhouse.com, where real people give you real service. Daniel Barry, Sports Highlights, is here. Hey, everyone. Happy Friday. And it is a very, very happy Friday here as Paul Skenes, of course, made his second start of his MLB career and absolutely shoved once again against the Chicago Cubs. Hillbilly Jim, Skenes with the Rick Rhoden mustache, Rhoden number 29, Skenes number 30. Are we sure they're not related? I don't know if they're related. We'd have to go on to ancestry.com to find that one out. But as far as the other stuff that we got to see in this game today, folks, the offense has given Paul Skenes a lot of run support since he has come up, obviously scoring 19 runs in the 2 games that Paul Skenes has pitched thus far. And I think it was Gary Morgan, my usual Monday guest, who made the joke that he's gotten more run support than Paul Skenes or than Quinn Priester has in his entire career. We'd have to fact check that on that one. But scoring gets started from Jerry Triolo, 2-run home run in the top of the 3rd inning. Nick Gonzalez obviously has another big day, sack fly in the 5th that made it 6-0. Obviously had a double in the 4th inning. Yasmani Grandal, Rowdy Tellez, and Jerry Triolo had quite the day at the bottom of the lineup in the bottom of the order. Picro Armstrong's big error, by the way, on a Jerry Triolo hit in the 4th made it 5-0. Grandal hit another 2-run single in the 5th inning to make it 8-0. And as far as everything else was concerned, I mean, the Pittsburgh Pirates offense just exploded. It really did. It looked like they were ready to go. 9 runs, 15 hits for the Pirates offense. I believe 15 hits tied the season high for the Pittsburgh Pirates offense. And it was a 3-hit day again for Connor Joe. Folks, Connor Joe, as I've said, and as a lot of you have said, needs to be in this lineup every single day. No ifs, ands, or buts about it. He needs to be in the lineup every single day. He's a guy that is just hitting the baseball at every turn. Kyle Hendricks just had a horrible day. And I did get a kick out of Murphy's Pub sign where they were saying the professor was going to school the new kid. Well, how'd that work out? It didn't. It didn't work out at all. You look at just the overall scope of what we've seen from this offense lately, and it's something that we talked about coming out of spring training and going into opening day. We saw this team kind of develop a power element in spring training. They led all of baseball in spring training in home runs. And since the season began, we really haven't seen it all that much. We hadn't seen a lot of things from the offense so far in terms of the home run ball. Well, over the past week and change, we've seen quite a bit of that. And we've seen a lot of extra base hits. Nick Gonzalez has been a major part of that and has been a very good addition to the lineup since coming up from AAA. But you're seeing Andrew McCutchen pick things up a lot lately. He obviously hit another home run, his 6th of the season today. You see Connor Joe continuing to contribute. Brian Reynolds. O'Neal Cruz didn't have the greatest day today either, but he's been a valid contributor to this offense a lot lately. And today, and as Jim would say here, Rowdy Tellez had a multi-hit day, and I thought I was in Bizarro world. Yeah, well, that's the Paul Skenes effect for you, I guess. Paul Skenes just kind of contagious everywhere with success all around the lineup. Now, is that something that I expect to happen day in and day out? No, that is not an expectation of this offense. But if you can go out and score 5 runs, much like they did on Thursday against teams like the Chicago Cubs, who you think that you can outmatch pitching-wise, which they have done so far. They beat up on Justin Steele twice. Javier Assad had a good start over the past weekend. They'll obviously see Shoto Imanaga for the first time this year tomorrow, so that'll be an interesting little component to add to this rivalry in this short span of time. But when you have a 3-headed monster of Mitch Keller, Paul Skenes, and Jared Jones, and then good complementary back-end rotation pieces like Martin Perez and Bailey Falter, who we'll see tomorrow, 5 runs will get it done. more often than not. Now, Martin Perez obviously had the big blow up start on Wednesday, sorry. But you're starting to see kind of how this Pirates team is going to win games. Get good outings from your starters, which they have gotten the last 2 days from Jared Jones and Paul Skenes. Mitch Keller obviously had another good start against the Brewers the other day. Continue to get those valuable quality starts, hand it off to the bullpen, and let the bullpen work. The bullpen is starting to figure it out again. It's still a unit that I think has the potential to be a top 10 unit in baseball. If the offense can just do its part and put up at least, I'd say, 4 or 5 runs in these games and not go ice cold like we have seen them do over the past couple of weeks, then the Pirates are going to win games more often than not, thanks to guys like Paul Skenes, thanks to guys like Jared Jones and Mitch Keller. And in the offense, thanks to guys like Connor Joe, O'Neal Cruz, Brian Reynolds. And then on the off days where you do get the contributions from guys like Jared Triolo and even Jack Sawinski, Yasmani Grandal, and Rowdy Tellez, who have had their struggles throughout the year. These are the kind of games where, especially when those guys were hitting early in the game and you started to get the sense at the bottom of the order was going to have a good day, those are games you win. And Paul Skenes doing what he did today, those are games you win. The more often you get quality starts, the more often you should want to win. And the Pirates, more often than not, with the current state of the starting rotation that they have right now, are going to get the opportunity to win ball games from quality starts from their pitchers. And that's what we've been able to see with that three-headed monster, with the complementary pieces, and with a bullpen that has the potential to stand on its head and shut out games. We saw that on Thursday night with Chapman and Bednar. They are still a group that has the ability to just flat out shut down games. That is something that we've seen and we will continue to see. Now we'll talk a little bit more about what we saw today, more on Paul Skenes, and then we'll take a small look at tomorrow's game in Game 3 of the 4-game set against the Chicago Cubs at Wrigley Field. But before we do that, folks, let's hear from FanDuel. Today's edition of Locked On Pirates is also brought to you by FanDuel. FanDuel.com/LockedOn has all of your betting in one place, and it's winner take all time in the NBA and NHL, and FanDuel's giving you a shot to bring home a big win of your own. Right now, new customers get $150 in bonus bets with any winning $5 bet. That's $150 to bet on spreads, money lines, player props like, Paul Skenes strikeouts or Jared Jones strikeouts, and so much more. Visit FanDuel.com/LockedOn and make every playoff shot count, because FanDuel is America's #1 sportsbook and an official sponsor of the Locked On Podcast Network. And folks, welcome to the final segment of today's live edition of Locked On Pirates here on the Locked On Podcast Network, where it is your team, your Pittsburgh Pirates, every single day. Folks, Paul Skenes has done pretty much everything you could ask of him through his first 2 starts. You just look overall at what we've seen from a guy like Paul Skenes and what we've seen from the Pirates when Paul Skenes has been out there. Obviously dropped his ERA to a 2.70 today, has now pitched, I believe, I want to say it's 10 innings flat, went 5 in his first start, 6 in the second start, 18 strikeouts over those 2 starts so far against the Chicago Cubs, a 0.9 whip right now. The Pirates and that whip percentage have just been absolutely phenomenal this year, even with the likes of Bailey Falter, who has had a good number in that scenario. On base percentage right now is very low against Skenes. His OPS is only a 542 against. You look at the slugging being a 286, a 313 BABIP. Well, it's kind of interesting with the BABIP metric for Paul Skenes, because he doesn't allow too many balls to go and play, especially from what we saw today. Picked up his first major league win today, which was a big deal. You kind of wish that would have happened at home, but we know what happened there after Paul Skenes left the game. And folks, this has just been insane. And if you didn't know, another fact on Paul Skenes, he'll be turning 22 later this month. He was born on May 29th, 2002. So he will, of course, be celebrating a birthday later this month. Will he be pitching that day? Who knows? Maybe not. I don't even know if the Pirates actually play that day. Something to talk about, something to think on. But it's May 17th, and the Pirates are starting to make some inroads. They're starting to make some inroads now on this season. And it's been an interesting one. They still sit 6.5 back of the lead right now. They've kind of brought that gap between them and the Cubs a little bit closer. The Brewers obviously extended the gap earlier this week. They now only sit 4 games back of the Chicago Cubs, who are now 25-21. Pirates 21-25. They've even separated themselves just a tad from the St. Louis Cardinals and the Cincinnati Reds, who are 19-25 and 18-25 respectfully. Talking about tomorrow's game, though, this is big. The Pirates have not won a series against the NL Central just yet. Tomorrow, it'll be a tough task. It'll be Shoto Imanaga versus Bailey Falter. Bailey Falter entering the game with a 4.15 ERA. Shoto Imanaga, who's a prime Rookie of the Year candidate right now for the Chicago Cubs, at a 0.96 ERA, has yet to lose a game. He's 5-0. On the season so far. It'll be another 220 start. It'll be lefty, and it'll be Mitch Keller and Jameson Taillon on Sunday. That's going to be another big one. And you look at this, and you're going to continue to look at this, folks, or everybody listening. When you have Jared Jones, Mitch Keller, and Paul Skenes all going in the same series, I think you like your odds of winning a lot more than you would rather having anybody else. And that's an interesting topic to have. And the Pirates have now won 2 straight. And what do they need to keep doing to keep winning? And I think a lot of it, again, boils down to the offense. And the offense, of course, giving run support to what we've seen these pitchers be able to do. And if you can continue to just get these strong starts from a Paul Skenes, from a Jared Jones, more often than not, the Pirates are going to win baseball games. And if the offense can even do a sliver of what they did today, what they did on Thursday over the next 2 games, they have a good chance of winning, because this is a Cubs lineup that has struggled. Remind yourselves that the Cubs entered this series off a series where they scored 7 runs in 3 games against the Atlanta Braves, a very tough team, mind you, in the National League. But these are the times now where you're at Wrigley Field. Today, you've already established that you're going to at least split the series against the Chicago Cubs. But if you want to make real inroads, win this series against the Chicago Cubs and establish yourself in the NL Central with this group that you currently have that features Paul Skenes, Jared Jones, O'Neal Cruz, Ke'Bryan Hayes when he makes his eventual return, Brian Reynolds, Connor Joe even. A group that can win you ball games. That is what the Pirates currently have in front of them. And Paul Skenes dazzled in no-hit fashion in his second MLB start versus the Chicago Cubs. Folks, we couldn't be more excited over here at the Locked On Pirates podcast, where it is your team, your Pittsburgh Pirates, every single day. My name is Ethan Smith. Again, follow me on Twitter at MVP_Ethan or at Locked On Pirates for all of your news, analysis, opinions, and reactions to everything in the world of the Pittsburgh Pirates, including Paul Skenes. And folks, this podcast is available to you on YouTube and all of your audio platforms every Monday through Friday, because it is free and available to you all of those days. Folks, I hope you enjoyed everything. And Mark Lancaster bringing up something. Don't forget Nick Gonzalez, who has been a large contributor as well. Folks, enjoy the rest of your Friday evening and Saturday morning if you're catching it by then. Have a wonderful weekend. Hopefully, the Pirates continue their winning ways against the Chicago Cubs throughout the weekend at Wrigley Field. And we'll see you on the flip side to talk all about it on Monday.